good morning, good afternoon, good night, or honestly, whatever time of day it is that you are listening right now. Welcome back to the Snark Squad.
We are so incredibly ready to get into this today because the delusion we witnessed this week is operating on a cellular level.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But before we even touch the absolute chaos of Belle Collective, I mean, we need to address a different kind of delusion that is like actively permeating society right now.
Wait, what kind of delusion are we talking about?
Okay, I am just reacting so emotionally to the seasonal shift.
Uh-huh.
Because, babes, it is finally almost summer.
Oh, thank God.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, we can taste it. The seasonal depression is supposedly lifting, the iced coffees are sweating, and the timelines are flooded with curated aesthetic beach pictures.
You really are.
But society aggressively gaslights us every single May into believing that we are about to enter this, effortless, sun-kissed utopia for the next 3 months.
Like we're all just going to be lounging on yachts.
Exactly. We are sold this narrative of linen pants, Aperol spritzes, and effortless glowing skin. But let's expose the reality. Let's have a real, chaotic, honest conversation about the parts of summer that everyone fundamentally hates, but no one is brave enough to talk about.
Okay, the bravery is definitely flowing through me today because I'm currently a victim of the summer reality.
Oh, no. What's happening?
I want to start with a very real, lived-in grievance that is actively ruining my life right now. If you are listening right now, you might relate to this specific brand of familial torture.
I feel like I know where this is going.
You know my mom. She has this big, gorgeous, sprawling house. It is architecturally stunning. But since she's getting older, guess who's doing, all the home maintenance?
Let me guess. You.
Me. Guess who is out there in the sweltering, unforgiving heat, fighting an actual war against the elements? Me.
I am so sorry.
And here is the psychological kicker, right? She could absolutely 100% hire professional help.
She has the resources.
She has all the resources. A landscaping crew could do in 20 minutes what takes me 4 hours, but she actively chooses not to. Because in her mind, why participate in the local economy when you have a perfectly capable offspring to perform free, indentured manual labor?
Wait, are we mad about it?
Slightly.
Slightly. I would be apoplectic. I would be actively spiraling in the middle of the driveway.
It's just, why does no one talk about how much cutting grass and weeding gardens absolutely sucks?
That's the worst.
We have romanticized home ownership to this absurd degree, but no one talks about the fact that owning a lawn is basically signing a blood pact with Mother Nature. It is definitively the worst part of summer.
There is zero dignity in being on your hands and knees in the dirt, like sweating completely through your clothes, fighting to rip a dandelion out by its roots, all while your mother watches you from an air-conditioned kitchen.
It is a traumatic, degrading experience. And if we look at the mechanics of it, it's a futile endeavor.
It really is.
You cut the grass, you lose 5 pounds in pure water weight from sweating, you risk heat stroke, you finally finish the edges, and then 48 hours later, it has the sheer biological audacity to grow back.
It never ends.
It is a relentless cycle of torture. I am out there looking like an actual swamp monster getting violently attacked by the local ecosystem, while my mom is inside casually adjusting the thermostat.
Oh my God.
And when she comes out with a glass of lemonade and points out that I, quote, missed a spot near the hydrangeas, the heavy sarcasm I used to reply could cut through steel.
I can literally picture the exact expression on your face right now, and it's sending me. But wait, let's keep this going. If we are doing a round robin of summer grievances, I am bringing my ultimate nemesis to the table.
Let's hear it.
Sweating immediately after getting ready.
Oh, the betrayal.
Let's break down the timeline of this tragedy. You take a cool shower. You meticulously do your 12-step skincare routine. You spend an hour heat styling your hair. You apply a full face of makeup.
Yep, you're looking flawless.
You look incredible. Then you step outside your front door for a maximum of 3 seconds, and immediately your core body temperature spikes.
Instantly.
The thermal dynamics just betray you. The makeup begins to slide off your face like an avalanche. Your hair absorbs the humidity and triples in volume, and that cute outfit is suddenly fused to your spine.
It's true. This specific visceral rage that fills my body when I start sweating before my hand even touches the car door handle, it is unmatched.
Makes me so angry.
It's the sheer betrayal of your own body's thermoregulation. It's infuriating. And speaking of biological betrayals, let me introduce the next grievance.
Please do.
Bug bites completely ruining your life and your aesthetic.
Oh, I hate them so much.
You get invited to an outdoor dinner party. You want to give boss energy, you want to network, you want to look sophisticated, but underneath the patio table, completely out of sight, your ankles are being absolutely devoured by an army of mosquitoes.
And you can't scratch them.
Exactly. And the worst part isn't the bite itself, it's the aftermath. For the next 2 solid weeks, you are violently, subconsciously scratching yourself in public like an unhinged person.
It's so embarrassing.
You're at a business lunch trying to talk about quarterly projections while secretly digging your fingernails into your calf under the table. There is nothing luxurious, nothing aspirational about being a walking, breathing buffet for the local insect population.
It completely shatters the illusion of glamour. You're trying to look cute while melting, which leads directly to my next point, which is the overcrowded patios.
Oh, patio delusion is real.
This is peak summer delusion. Everyone collectively decides that dining indoors is suddenly a federal crime. So you arrive at a restaurant and you willingly wait an hour and a half for an outdoor table.
And for what?
Exactly. What is the reward for your patience? A tiny, wobbling metal table situated on uneven pavement, wedged aggressively between a municipal trash can and a 4-lane street with active bus traffic.
It's so bleak.
The sun is beating down directly into your retinas because the umbrella is broken. There's zero breeze. Your $15 iced latte has the thermal profile of warm soup within 3 minutes.
That is the worst part.
And you were just sitting there, inhaling exhaust fumes, completely miserable, but aggressively pretending you were having the time of your life because, oh my God, we're outdoors.
The patio delusion is a fascinating psychological phenomenon. It is a performative endurance test. We are collectively participating in a shared lie.
We really are.
And let's top off this round robin of misery with the final boss of summer complaints.
Hit me.
Sunburns you definitely didn't ask for. You do everything right. You apply SPF 50. You reapply every 2 hours as instructed by dermatologists. You seek shelter under a cabana.
You do the work.
And yet, due to some inexplicable failure in the ozone layer, you still end up looking like a freshly boiled lobster.
Oh, it's the worst.
Your skin begins peeling in the most awkward, highly visible places, and you are physically incapable of sleeping on your back for 4 days. The math of sun protection never actually adds up.
It truly never does. And this, babes, this entire unhinged rant is exactly why we are deeply, profoundly, and unapologetically committed to being apartment dwellers.
100%.
No lawns, no gardens, no overgrown weeds, no structural exterior maintenance, no problems.
It's the superior lifestyle.
I celebrate our absolute lack of outdoor responsibilities on a daily basis.
Yeah.
The maximum amount of agricultural labor I am required to do is occasionally pour tap water into my one slightly pathetic indoor pothos plant.
Yeah.
And even that feels like a heavy burden.
I will defend the apartment dwelling lifestyle like it's a superior evolutionary trait. Because when you think about it, it is the ultimate delegation of stress.
Exactly.
When a pipe breaks, I call a portal, and a man named Steve fixes it. When it snows, a mysterious truck plows the driveway while asleep. And when summer hits and the grass needs cutting, I am safely sequestered in my temperature-controlled, elevated box in the sky.
Far away from the landscaping equipment.
Far away from the mosquitoes. My mom can keep her massive, beautiful estate. I will keep my peace and my unstained sneakers.
Balance. It is all about balance. Okay, but before we get entirely lost in our real estate preferences, let's bring it back to real life. Because outside of recording this show, dentist life continues.
It never stops.
We still have day jobs, babes. We are still in the absolute trenches of the healthcare system. So let's ground ourselves and do our roses and thorns of the week. What was the absolute peak and what was the darkest valley of your week?
Okay, analytically speaking, my thorn was deeply, profoundly psychological this week.
Oh, boy.
I had a patient who, for some completely inexplicable reason, insisted on attempting to have a full, robust, highly nuanced philosophical conversation with me.
While you were working?
While my hands, a sharp mirror, and a high-speed suction tool were actively inside their mouth.
I am screaming because that is the most universal healthcare worker experience.
I am trying to work with microscopic precision on a molar, and they are trying to debate the current macroeconomic state of housing interest rates in muffled gurgles and loose vowels.
What do you even say to that?
The anxiety it causes me is astronomical. I just have to sit there, sweating under the clinical lights, nodding along, pretending I speak fluent suction tube.
It's like the dental chair acts as a truth serum or a podcast microphone for them. They sit in the waiting room in absolute silence for 20 minutes, but the literal second you recline the chair and say, "Open wide," they suddenly need to deliver a TED Talk about their cousin's real estate ventures. Why do they do that?
If we look at the psychology of it, it's a massive defense mechanism. They are physically vulnerable, lying back with their mouth open, which is a prime mammalian state of defenselessness.
That makes sense.
By talking, they are trying to reclaim control of the dynamic and humanize themselves so I don't accidentally hurt them. I understand the mechanism, but it doesn't make the muffled economic debates any less stressful.
Totally fair. What was your rose?
My saving grace this week was the sheer, unadulterated, petty office drama.
Oh, I live for this. Tell me everything.
Our front desk coordinator and one of the senior hygienists have been engaged in a brutal Cold War over the office thermostat for 3 consecutive weeks.
Oh, thermostat wars are dangerous.
The passive aggressiveness has been elevated to an art form. The coordinator will bump the temperature up to 72 degrees. The hygienist will walk by 10 minutes later, aggressively stab the button down to 68, and just whisper into the empty hallway, quote, "Hot flashes are real, Brenda."
I am obsessed with Brenda.
I am just quietly observing from my operatory, taking mental notes, completely entertained by the breakdown of professional decorum.
I live for Brenda's quiet suffering, honestly. The thermostat wars are the foundational bedrock of any toxic workplace. The thermostat is the only variable employees feel they can actually control, so it becomes this proxy battleground for all their unexpressed rage.
What about you? What was your thorn?
Okay, my thorn this week was a logistical nightmare. The main sterilization machine, the autoclave, went down right before the massive lunch rush.
Oh no, that is a disaster.
When I tell you it was pure, unadulterated chaos, I mean it. An autoclave breaking is a cascading operational failure. It is the single point of failure in a dental office. Everyone was running around the clinic like the building was actively on fire.
I can picture it.
People were hoarding clean instruments in their rooms like they were gold bullion. I felt my blood pressure skyrocket to dangerous stroke-level heights. I was emotionally compromised.
The panic of a broken autoclave is a very specific, terrifying type of panic. It's like a kitchen running out of clean pans in the middle of a dinner rush, but, with sharp medical instruments.
Exactly. But my rose, oh, my rose is a beautiful tale of human kindness.
Oh, I need some kindness right now.
A patient who is clearly an angel sent directly from above to heal my nervous system, brought a massive box of completely unhinged gourmet cookies to the office.
Giant ones?
Yes. I'm talking about the kind of artisanal cookies that weigh 3 pounds each, cost $8 a piece, and have a literal, fully baked brownie stuffed inside the center. Did I take my break, sit in the corner of the staff room staring blankly at the wall, and eat an entire one in total silence? Yes. Did the resulting dopamine hit heal my soul and give me the strength to finish the afternoon? Also, yes.
I heavily respect a baked goods bribe. It really softens the blow of a grueling day. But speaking of complex culinary experiences, we absolutely must talk about the food delusion we engaged in right before we sat down at these microphones.
Oh my God, yes.
Babes, we have to unpack the Bella Hadid pizza toast.
Yes. If you don't know what we are talking about, if you're listening right now, you need to open your phone. Actually, wait until this conversation is over, but then immediately look it up.
It is everywhere.
Right before we hit record, we made it in the kitchen. And I'm not exaggerating, not even slightly, when I say it altered my brain chemistry. I am reacting so emotionally to this meal.
You really are.
This woman, Bella Hadid, she deeply, spiritually understands cheese. She understands the mechanical necessity of a perfectly melted, gooey fat source.
It was an undeniably incredible culinary experience, I will readily admit that. But if we are being honest with ourselves, we also need to aggressively roast how easily influenced we are.
I mean, true.
We are supposedly grown, educated adults with medical degrees, and we saw a 20-something supermodel post a highly curated, aesthetically pleasing video of an open-faced sandwich on social media, and we immediately sprinted to the artisanal grocery store like our actual survival depended on it.
We ran.
We bought a $15 jar of boutique hot honey just to feel a fleeting sense of joy. The cognitive dissonance of knowing we are being marketed to, yet willingly surrendering our wallets anyway, is staggering.
I surrender my wallet with zero regrets because the mechanics of the ingredients matter.
They do matter.
You have to start with the perfectly toasted sourdough thick cut, obviously, to provide structural integrity. Then you drizzle the olive oil and the lemon juice.
The lemon juice is key.
Now, the lemon juice sounded chaotic to me initially, but it is actually a genius mechanism to cut through the heavy fats. You add the chili flakes for heat, and then the piece de resistance, the burrata, slicing into that fresh mozzarella shell and watching the stracciatella cream just ooze out and blanket the bread. I was having a profound out-of-body experience in your kitchen. Then you bake it until it's perfectly bubbly, hit it with that overpriced hot honey, and just wow.
From a purely scientific standpoint, the crunch-to-goo ratio was mathematically flawless. The contrast between the rigid toasted sourdough and the liquid dairy fat hit so hard.
So hard.
We literally sat in absolute silence for 2 solid minutes, just processing the flavor profile. And the truest sign of a dangerous, highly engineered recipe is the absolute necessity of going back for another bite, even when your stomach is actively telling your brain that you are full.
I am completely obsessed. I will be manifesting this meal every day for the rest of my life.
See?
But now that we are completely full of cheese, slightly sweaty from our summer rant, and fully caffeinated, we are absolutely ready to unpack the mess of the day. Because, babes, we watched Belle Collective, Birmingham, and we have to talk about it.
We really do.
The level of delusion, the boss energy, the absolute logistical chaos. We need to break all of it down.
Because this wasn't just reality TV. It was a masterclass in passive-aggressive maneuvering, unhealed trauma responses, and the sheer terrifying audacity of trying to run a multi-million-dollar business while your internal circle actively sabotages each other.
It was so chaotic.
Let's set the scene and take everyone back to the messy aftermath of Tiffany's couples party or game night or whatever sociological experiment that was supposed to be.
First of all, let's address the branding of that event. Calling it a couples party was a massive delusional stretch, considering there were essentially no actual couples in attendance.
Literally none.
It was so weird. The energy was completely off from the exact second people cross a threshold. It felt significantly less like an elegant, curated game night and significantly more like a bizarre hostage situation in a beautifully decorated living room.
It was entirely chaotic. And frankly, some of the games they were playing were a little questionable for a group of women who claim to be so heavily rooted in their faith and traditional values.
Completely questionable.
But the real meat of this party, the psychological epicenter, was the conversation between Fumi and Tiffany. Let's unpack the lead-up to what we are now calling the mop incident.
Yes. Okay, so Fumi pulls Tiffany aside to have what she genuinely believes is going to be a mature, grown woman conversation.
Right.
And I immediately felt this massive wave of emotion for Fumi in this moment. If you watch her body language, you can tell she just wants to clear the air. She just wants to be validated, to be liked, to be a secure part of the group.
She was trying.
She's trying to effectively communicate her feelings about the palpable tension between them. She is putting her armor down and being vulnerable. And Tiffany, oh my God, Tiffany's reaction. I was spiraling on my couch.
See, I was analyzing Tiffany's behavior during that exchange, and it is a textbook, peer-reviewed example of what I classify as fake Christian energy.
Yes.
She was entirely dismissive, utterly condescending, and treated Fumi not like a peer, but like an absolute nuisance. Fumi is standing there pouring her heart out, saying, you know, I don't think you vibe with me. I feel like your energy is off towards me.
And Tiffany gives nothing.
Tiffany's basically just blinking at her with these dead, unbothered eyes, offering zero empathy. She didn't give a single solitary thought to Fumi's emotional reality.
None. She kept deploying these thought-terminating cliches. She'd say things like, well, if you felt that way, then that's it. It's so deeply invalidating. It's like trying to have a conversation with a brick wall that has been painted with passive aggression.
Exactly. If we want to understand the mechanism of Tiffany's behavior, think of her like an invasive species in an ecosystem.
Oh, I like this analogy.
An invasive plant, let's say a bright yellow weed, looks pretty on the surface, it looks harmless, but underneath the soil, its root system is aggressively choking out the native plants, hoarding all the resources and destabilizing the entire garden.
Wow. Yes.
Tiffany's calm, sweet demeanor is the bright yellow flower, but her condescension is the root system choking Fumi out of the friend group. She's exactly like that one toxic coworker we all have who CCs your boss on a totally minor, easily resolvable email just to be petty and establish dominance.
Toxic CC.
And then when you confront them at the water cooler, they say, oh, I was just keeping everyone in the loop, bless your heart, with a totally straight face.
Yeah.
It's highly calculated condescension masked as innocence.
That is the perfect analogy. But wait, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. Is it possible that Tiffany isn't actually trying to be a genuine friend at all?
What do you mean?
What if she fully understands the assignment of reality television and she is actively choosing to establish a strict hierarchy? Maybe she knows exactly what she's doing and she's treating Fumi like a subordinate to secure her own spot as the alpha of the group.
Oh, she is absolutely establishing dominance, but that doesn't make it any less toxic to watch. Which leads us directly to the escalation.
The mop.
The moment that I can only describe as the ultimate unforgivable disrespect, this is the moment where my jaw physically unhinged.
Mine too.
Stormy, who is graciously trying to help host this messy, uncoordinated event, is walking around cleaning up. She looks at Tiffany and says, "I picked up the drinks. I picked up the cups." And Tiffany looks at her dead in the eye and says,
"Now I need you to mop."
"Now I need you to mop."
The sheer, unadulterated, breathtaking audacity to say those specific words to Stormy. Stormy is a self-made entrepreneur. She is a CEO. She is walking around dressed like literal African royalty, building an empire.
And Tiffany treats her like staff.
Yes. Tiffany casually directs her like she's the newly hired janitorial staff at a discount grocery store. Clean up on aisle 4. I mean, the disrespect is staggering. If you look at the historical context of domestic labor, weaponizing a cleaning tool like a mop and ordering another woman to use it is the ultimate undeniable status power play.
I would have lost my absolute mind. If someone looked at me at a cocktail party and instructed me to mop the floor, I would have snapped the handle of the mop over my knee and then set the curtains on fire.
I would have helped you light the match.
Stormy handled it with significantly more grace than I possess. She just coldly walked away and stated she wasn't doing it, but the energy in that room, it went sub-zero immediately.
And let's talk about the absolute visual absurdity of this interaction. Stormy is looking incredible, regal, composed, and Tiffany is standing there delivering these commands in this bright, blindingly yellow outfit.
Like a lemon.
She looked like a giant hostile lemon. Later on, another cast member is wearing bright orange, and they literally look like a lemon and a tangerine walking around the party, causing absolute emotional destruction.
It was visually chaotic.
You cannot walk around dressed like a piece of citrus fruit and act like you are the supreme overlord of the room. The visual aesthetic does not track with the villain behavior.
The citrus delusion. It's entirely too much. I am so firmly Team Fumi and Team Stormy in this specific scenario. Tiffany is systematically alienating everyone, and she's doing it with a smile.
She really is.
But as chaotic as the party drama was, we have to shift our focus, because right in the middle of this petty bickering, we get hit with a completely jarring, profoundly dark emotional bombshell. We need to unpack Kayla's backstory.
Yes, we need to get out the whiteboard, draw a timeline, and do the actual math on Kayla's life. Because it is wild, it is dark, and it requires serious psychological unpacking. I'm still emotionally horrified by what she casually revealed on screen.
Let's break it down. Kayla is sitting there, revealing that she is now a full-time mom after her recent divorce, and she starts recounting the origin story of how she met her ex-husband.
This part is so hard to hear.
She states, with her own mouth, that she met him when she was 16 or 17 years old. He was in his 30s.
It's unthinkable.
Let that sink into your brain for a second. She was a literal teenager, a minor, working the cash register at a Domino's Pizza, and this 30-something-year-old man was hanging around her place of employment.
It makes me physically sick to my stomach. If we do the math, even if we give the absolute maximum benefit of the doubt and say she was 17 and he was 30, that is a high school junior.
Right.
And a man who has been a legal voting adult for over a decade. He has a fully developed prefrontal cortex, a 401k, and a mortgage. And she has a learner's permit and algebra homework. It is a massive predatory power imbalance.
It is the textbook definition of grooming. And the mechanism of grooming relies on secrecy, which she confirms. She says her own mother didn't even know they were dating until Kayla turned 18.
That poor mother.
The literal day after her 18th birthday, her mom pulls up to the Domino's, sees them sitting together in the big glass window, instantly deduces what is going on, completely flips out, cusses them both out, and kicks Kayla out of the house.
Which, by the way, I completely validate. That is a highly rational, protective reaction from a mother who just realized a grown man has been secretly infiltrating her teenage daughter's life.
It's a normal reaction.
But what happens next is the truly devastating part.
Yep.
Kayla gets kicked out, and because she has been raised with this strict personal conviction against shacking up before marriage, she marries him 11 days later, at 18 years old.
It is stolen youth. It is the absolute hijacking of a life trajectory. She had 4 children back-to-back right out of the gate.
It's so sad.
She spent her entire youth, her foundational 20s, everything, being molded, shaped, and directed by a man who was old enough to be her father. She had zero opportunity to establish an independent identity, to fail, to learn, to figure out who she was outside of his immediate control.
My heart just breaks for her. But what is so deeply chilling to me is how she actually recounts this story to the camera.
The tone was completely off.
She tells it with a slight smile, almost like it's this romantic, us against the world narrative. Like, oh, my mom was so mad, so we ran off and got married. She presents it like it's a quirky, passionate origin story.
When, in reality, it is a glaring case of trauma bonding.
Yes. She doesn't seem to fully grasp that her autonomy was stolen.
That cognitive dissonance is exactly what happens with grooming. The victim is conditioned to view the control as love. And then we get the missing piece of the puzzle that explains the entire dynamic.
When Fumi asked that question,
Fumi, who has zero filter, point blank asks Kayla if she has daddy issues. It's a blunt, almost rude question, but Fumi clocked the psychology immediately, and Kayla reveals that she lost her father when she was 11 years old.
that is the vulnerability vacuum.
Yeah.
That is the exact mechanism. When you lose a father at 11, you are left craving that specific type of male protection, guidance, and validation.
You're vulnerable.
So when a much older man comes along a few years later, showing her intense attention and offering to take care of her, she clings to it as a survival mechanism. It's not a Romeo and Juliet romance. It's a profound trauma response masquerading as a fairy tale.
Completely. And this brings us to her current situation, which requires serious scrutiny. She is now divorced, and she has this new man, Jason from Dallas.
So, Jason from Dallas.
They met at a conference, and she is just raving to the women about how amazing he is, how he lets her do whatever she wants, how he encourages her to find her identity. But then she drops this quote.
The guardrails quote.
She says he told her he wants to be her guardrail so she can go out to the club or do whatever safely.
And here is where I have to raise an eyebrow and ask the tough analytical questions. Is this actual genuine healing? Or is this just another older man stepping in to direct her life, but under the modernized guise of freedom?
That's the real question.
Let's analyze the word guardrails. What does a guardrail do? A guardrail doesn't teach a car how to drive independently. A guardrail forcibly corrects the vehicle when it deviates from the predetermined approved path it contains. It restricts.
Exactly. That is a brilliant breakdown of the terminology. He is still framing himself as the boundary. He is the one giving her permission to go to the club. It gives me a massive pause.
It's so alarming.
If you are listening right now, ask yourself, in your own relationships, are you driving the car, or are you just bouncing off someone else's guardrails? I fear she isn't actually finding herself. She's just following a kinder, gentler script written by a different man.
It feels like she's still desperately looking for a parental figure to pat her on the head and tell her she's doing a good job at being an adult. I want so badly for this to be genuine healing, but that guardrails comment set off alarm bells in my spirit.
We are going to have to keep our snarky, highly critical eyes on Jason from Dallas. But to pull us out of the psychological depths for a second, let's pivot to the generational chaos in this episode.
Yes, please.
Because the youth absolutely stole the show. Amber's Gen Z niece, Kayla, and Kayla's son completely took me out.
The Gen Z energy was immaculate and deeply humbling. Kayla works as an influencer and marketing coordinator for Stormmy, and she completely effortlessly roasts Amber's outfits.
It was brutal.
Amber is trying to wear these cute, feminine, slightly dated little dresses, and Kayla just looks at her with utter disdain and says, "Why do you always dress like a boy? It's so plain." The sheer casual disrespect from nieces is a universal constant.
The paradigm shift in aesthetics between millennials and Gen Z is a brutal reality to live through. They have zero filter, zero reverence for our skinny jeans, and zero respect for our fashion choices.
None at all.
But the real star, the absolute legend of the youth segment, was Kayla's son.
I am still completely appalled by this story. Okay, so Kayla is telling the group that her middle school-age son got in trouble at school. He coughs loudly during a quiet moment in class, specifically to get attention. The teacher calls him out, telling the rest of the class to ignore him because he's just acting out. And this child, this literal adolescent, looks at the teacher and tells her to, quote, "hop off my meat."
He said it under his breath, but still, iconic behavior. Absolute unbothered legend. The breakdown of institutional authority in Gen Z is fascinating to watch.
Iconic. No, are you out of your mind?
Mm-hmm.
That is terrible, atrocious parenting.
This is a little funny.
Kayla is sitting there on the couch recounting this story to the girls, and she is giggling. She is laughing that her kid deployed that specific phrase against an educator. If I ever, in my entire natural-born life, said anything remotely close to that to a teacher, my mother would have ended my existence.
Well, yeah.
I would not be here today having this conversation. I would have been grounded until my 35th birthday.
Look, I get it. The 90s parenting style was very different. We operated under a constant low-level terror of authority figures. But you have to admit, from a purely objective standpoint, the sheer comedic timing of a middle schooler deploying that specific, highly disrespectful slang when told he's seeking attention is low-key genius.
No.
I'm not saying it's morally right, I'm just saying it's incredibly funny. And I respect the audacity of the youth.
I cannot with you. I am deeply concerned for the future fabric of society if we are applauding this. But anyway, let's get back to the main event, because the tectonic plates of this friend group are rapidly shifting.
They really are.
We need to talk about the disinvite and the absolute treachery of the Sprinter van of secrets.
This sequence was reality TV gold. It was a masterstroke of dramatic pacing. So, Stormy is gearing up for her massive 48-hour continuous TikTok live for Canvas Beauty. It's a multi-million-dollar undertaking.
Huge.
She has a massive collaboration with Lala Anthony. She has Martell coming. There are hundreds of thousands of dollars of inventory on the line. And she decides, at the 11th hour, right before everyone is supposed to travel to Huntsville, that Tiffany is officially cut from the guest list.
And I completely, 100% validate Stormy in making this decision. She says, I'm an empath. I'm big on energy. And Tiffany's energy is objectively too dark, too unpredictable, and too condescending to have polluting a high-stakes business environment.
What's a fair business decision?
When you are the CEO and your cortisol levels are already maxed out trying to launch a product, you cannot have a human invasive species walking around your set telling your staff to mop. You have to ruthlessly protect your peace and your profit margins.
It was a decisive, necessary boss move. But the execution, the precise mechanism of how Tiffany actually found out, is where it gets incredibly deliciously messy.
Oh, Sinetta.
Because Stormy, being the boss, didn't call Tiffany directly. She delegated that information to Sinetta. And Sinetta made the calculated decision to drop the bomb from the inside of a moving Sprinter van.
Yes. The ladies are literally strapped into their seats on the highway, physically en route to the event. Sinetta calls Tiffany, puts her on speakerphone, and disguises this targeted strike as a wellness check.
So sneaky.
She says in her softest, sweetest voice, "Oh, hey, girl, just checking on you. Did you know everyone except you is currently in this van going to the live?"
Which brings me to a very serious analytical question about Sinetta's character. Is she genuinely the peacemaker she claims to be? Or is she a deeply messy, covert instigator hiding behind a soft-spoken cadence?
She is an instigator.
Because calling someone while you are physically on your way to the event they were just uninvited from to casually break the news while a van full of their peers listens in silence is villain behavior. It is a psychological tactic called triangulation.
Triangulation,
Yeah.
exactly.
It is designed to force an immediate, uncalculated reaction from the victim while providing the instigator with an audience.
It is so incredibly messy. If you have a Sinetta in your friend group, run. And Tiffany's reaction on the other end of the phone is a masterclass in fake chill.
The fake chill was off the chart.
She gets the news, her brain processes that she's the only one excluded, and she immediately launches into extreme defensive pivot mode. She claims she's totally unfazed, totally fine with it, and says, "Oh, actually, my husband and I are taking a romantic day trip to Atlanta right now to eat food."
And then the baby comment.
Yes. She says, and we're going to discuss a vasectomy or maybe try to make a baby.
The whiplash of that narrative pivot, it defies the laws of physics. She goes from, wait, I'm uninvited, to I'm actively reproducing in Atlanta in roughly 4.5 seconds.
It was wild.
It is the most curated defensive delusion I have ever witnessed. She is deeply, profoundly bothered by the rejection, but she is frantically wrapping it in this weird, my man wants to take me away narrative to save face in front of the group. It's cognitive dissonance in real time.
Fumi's reaction, sitting quietly in the back of the van, was the most relatable moment of the entire show. Fumi just looked out the tinted window and whispers, "If I got disinvited, I would boo-hoo cry."
Same, Fumi.
Same. I would be in the pit of despair, hyperventilating into a paper bag. Tiffany, pretending she doesn't care, is so transparent it's almost sad.
Which leads us directly to the climax of the episode, the crucible, where all this tension finally explodes. The 48-hour Canvas Beauty Live. We need to unpack the sheer, terrifying ambition and the logistical nightmare of this endeavor.
I am getting secondhand anxiety just thinking about the operational mechanics of it. A 48-hour continuous non-stop TikTok live stream. The camera lens does not turn off for 2 days. The sales pitch does not stop.
This a marathon?
Human beings have to work in rotating shifts just to keep the broadcast alive. Stormy is partnering with Lala Anthony for an exclusive scent, aiming to break the $1 million mark, maybe even hit $2.6 million. They have these intricate, custom book-style collectible boxes that had to be manufactured. The stakes are astronomically high.
And let's not gloss over the marketing strategy because it is fascinating. She hired Martell to co-host completely unprompted. Lala is a legitimate high-wattage celebrity. Martell is a reality TV star who has operated as a villain for 6 years. And Stormy's reasoning is utterly blunt. She says, regardless of what anyone says, women think he's hot. They think he's all that and a bag of chips.
I mean, she's not wrong about the audience.
She brought him in purely as visual eye candy to leverage the halo effect and drive sales from a specific demographic. It's a ruthless, brilliant, slightly cynical marketing tactic, but it's also deeply funny.
Hey, she knows her target audience. But the pressure inside that studio is insane. They get into the room, Lala arrives looking flawless. The countdown clock hits 0, the broadcast goes live to thousands of people, and immediately it all falls apart. Catastrophically.
It is a technical nightmare of epic proportions. First, the audio feed goes out. It's just pure dead static going out to a massive audience. Stormy is standing in front of the ring light, trying to hold a smile, but you can visibly see the sheer primal panic taking over her central nervous system.
I felt so bad for her. And then the absolute worst case scenario happens. They finally fix the audio, but the wrong product link is pinned to the screen for purchase.
The worst mistake you could make.
They are actively pitching the $300 custom collectible box with Lala. But on the screen, the $45 basic trio is flashing. So thousands of eager customers think they are buying the exclusive box, but they are actually checking out with the cheap trio.
The inventory mess that creates is insane.
It is a catastrophic inventory and revenue error. Stormy says her heart is beating out of her ass, and she is absolutely fuming at her team.
And here is where we are going to have a massive fundamental disagreement about business ethics. Stormy immediately spirals. She starts berating the tech team, specifically Amber and Trent.
Well, she was stressed.
She is yelling, I can't fix this. Me and technology don't get along. This is on y'all. But let me be highly analytical here. Let's look at the mechanics of leadership. If you are the CEO and you are running an event with a multi-million-dollar revenue goal and your entire business model relies on a digital live stream, you do a technical rehearsal.
Wait.
You test the links. You eliminate the single points of failure.
But they didn't have time. The logistics were crumbling around them. The custom boxes were arriving late. People were literally driving to Chicago in the middle of the night to secure shipments. They were running on 0 sleep.
That doesn't excuse the tech failure.
When you were the boss, you delegate specific tasks to your team. You hire a tech team specifically so you don't have to know how to pin the HTML link on TikTok. If your paid team drops the ball on the biggest, most crucial moment of your entire career with an A-list celebrity standing right next to you looking confused, you have every right to spiral, scream, and demand accountability.
I hear your emotional defense, but the buck stops at the top of the organizational chart. You don't get to claim all the boss energy, take the magazine covers, and cash the million-dollar checks, but then throw your hands up and say, I'm not good with computers when the infrastructure breaks.
That's why she hired them, though.
Delegation is not abdication. A failure to execute a dry run is a fundamental failure of leadership. Her blaming the energy in the room and everyone else while she melts down is chaotic, incredible reality TV gold, but it is objectively terrible business management.
We are just going to have to agree to disagree on this point, because I am an emotional observer and I deeply, viscerally sympathize with the panic of a live event going wrong in front of thousands of people. If I were in her shoes, I would have laid face down on the studio floor and simply passed away.
I know you would have. You would have folded instantly. Which is a perfect segue into our segment breakdowns. We have fully recapped the mess. Now let's really analyze it. Segment 1, friendship or frenemies?
Okay, let's do it.
The core question we need to answer is, who in this Birmingham circle is genuinely supportive and who is low-key competing for dominance?
Oh, this is such a layered question.
Yeah.
For me, I react so emotionally to Fumi's journey in this group. I look at Fumi and I see a genuine, albeit deeply misguided and slightly clumsy friend.
She is trying.
She desperately wants to fit in. She is operating from a deficit of validation. She pulls Tiffany aside not to attack her, but to understand her. She's sitting in the back of the Sprinter van openly admitting she'd be crying if she were excluded. She wears her heart completely on her sleeve.
That's true.
She's genuinely trying to build connections, but she's constantly hitting these reinforced concrete walls built by the other women.
Fumi is absolutely seeking validation, and her transparency is her only saving grace. But let's analyze Sonetta again. We touched on this, But calling Tiffany from the van is the textbook definition of a frenemy move disguised as a wellness check.
So fake.
If we look at the mechanics of true friendship, a genuine friend would have called Tiffany privately before getting into the van with the rest of the cast to say, hey, I heard what happened with Stormy. Are you okay? Let's talk.
That would be the mature thing to do.
Calling her on speakerphone with a captive audience is performative support. It's a tactical strike designed to extract a reaction for the group's entertainment, not to offer actual comfort.
It is entirely performative. It's so insidious. And what about Tiffany? Does she genuinely support any of these women, or is she just using them as props for her own brand?
Absolutely not. Tiffany is the ultimate frenemy to the entire collective. You cannot genuinely value other women as equals and then look at the host of a party and tell her to mop the floor.
Exactly.
That specific command implies that you view them as subordinates. She is low-key competing with everyone for dominance, and she is using her fake, wholly unbothered aesthetic as a weapon to make everyone else feel inadequate.
I completely agree. It's a toxic dynamic. Okay, moving on to segment 2, summer glow or summer show.
Yeah.
The core question here is the emotional growth we are seeing from these women real to glow, or is it just curated, performative vibes for the camera show?
Let's apply this metric to Kayla and Tiffany.
Yes. Let's start the analysis with Kayla. She has Jason from Dallas. She's claiming she has newfound freedom. She's finding her identity. She's finally out from under the oppressive thumb of her ex-husband. Is this a true summer glow of deep psychological healing, or a summer show to prove to the audience that she's over a traumatic 18-year marriage?
What's your read on it?
This is so incredibly tough because I want it to be a summer glow so badly. I want her to be fully healed and thriving. But looking at the evidence, I think it leans heavily toward a summer show.
I agree.
You do not simply unlearn 18 years of intense grooming and identity suppression in a few months just because you met a nice guy wearing a hat at a business conference.
Yeah.
The fact that she is still utilizing language like guardrails to describe her new partner tells me she is performing the role of the healed, independent woman.
Subconsciously, she's still looking for rules.
Yes, she is subconsciously still relying on an older man to define the boundaries of her reality. The roots of the growth aren't quite deep enough yet.
That is a brilliant, highly accurate, emotional read. The vocabulary gives away the truth. Now, applying the exact same question to Tiffany, is her grand declaration of, I'm just going to Atlanta with my man to get a vasectomy, I don't care about the event, a true, unbothered summer glow, or a deeply curated delusion to mask the sting of social rejection?
Oh, it is 1,000% a summer show. It is pure, unadulterated delusion.
It is arguably the most transparent summer show in the history of the reality television genre. She was absolutely seething on the other end of that phone.
You could hear it in her voice.
The processing speed at which she formulated the Atlanta baby-making narrative to protect her ego was staggering. True unbothered energy doesn't require a frantic, detailed explanation of exactly how busy and happy you are. When you truly don't care, you just say, okay, have fun, and hang up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The lady doth protest way too much. It was exhausting to watch.
Okay.
Okay, segment 3. If we joined the circle, let's do a thought experiment and insert ourselves directly into the Belle Collective Birmingham group.
Okay, let's do it.
Based on everything we just analyzed, what role would you play?
I would be the ultimate instigator, without a shadow of a doubt. I would not be hiding behind sweet, soft-spoken voices like Sonetta. I would be operating on the absolute front lines of the mess.
Oh, I know you would.
If Tiffany looked at me with those dead eyes and told me to mop, I would have verbally decimated her in front of the entire party. I would have brought up the yellow citrus outfit. I would have deconstructed the fake Christian energy right then and there, and I would have made a spectacular scene.
It would be iconic.
And I would absolutely be the one sitting in the corner of the room with Kylan, whispering highly snarky, analytical comments about everyone's aesthetic choices. I would thrive in the conflict.
You would be an absolute menace to the sociological stability of those women, and I would honestly love every second of watching it. I, on the other hand, would absolutely be the emotional observer.
You'd be crying.
I would be the liability. I would be the one crying in the back of the Sprinter van alongside Fumi, absorbing all the residual anxiety. I would be deeply, uncomfortably invested in everyone's childhood trauma.
You'd be giving Kayla therapy.
If Kayla started talking about being 18 at Domino's, I would be sobbing into my cocktail napkin, trying to offer her unsolicited therapy. And during the TikTok live tech issues, I would be hyperventilating in the corner, offering zero practical logistical help, just absorbing all of Stormy's panic until I passed out.
You would be in the corner doing panicked breath work while the e-commerce server crashes. We would be a terrible, highly dysfunctional team in a crisis, but we would make for incredible television.
We really would.
Which brings us to our final segment of the day. Segment 4, Snark Squad, Hot Takes. We need to drop our boldest, slightly unhinged opinions about the dynamics of this situation.
Okay, I am ready. I know we already fiercely debated this earlier, but I am doubling down on my hot take regarding the business mechanics.
Oh, here we go.
When you are the boss, when you carry the ultimate financial risk like Stormy, you are allowed to temporarily lose your mind when your team fails. The tech team ruined the launch of the Lala Anthony collaboration. They pinned the wrong link.
Still a failure of leadership.
That is literally their only functional purpose in that room. Stormy had every right to scream, yell, and be completely toxic in that specific high-stakes moment.
And I am firmly doubling down on my rebuttal. A CEO who doesn't test their technology before going live to thousands of people is not exhibiting boss energy. They are acting as a liability to their own brand. If your 48-hour live stream fails in the first 5 minutes, you look in the mirror before you scream at the tech intern.
We're never going to agree on this.
So I have another hot take for you, shifting away from the logistics.
Hit me. Let's hear it.
Martel is entirely, fundamentally unnecessary to that live stream. He adds zero intrinsic value, he has absolutely no connection to the beauty product being sold, and he is just standing there for messy clout.
But the audience likes him.
Stormy bringing him in as eye candy cheapens the prestige of the Lala Anthony collaboration. It dilutes the brand.
Okay, analytically, from a pure branding perspective, you might be right. But emotionally, and as a vulnerable consumer, if I tuned into a live stream and Martel was sitting there smiling, looking directly into the camera, telling me this custom box was going to change my life, I have to admit it, I would probably hit add a cart.
Of course you would.
The man is ridiculously good looking, and the marketing strategy, no matter how cheap or cynical it feels, absolutely works on my psychology. I am part of the problem.
You are so easily influenced by a cheese pull on Instagram and a reality TV villain with a strong jawline. It is a documented, highly predictable pattern of behavior.
I am nothing if not consistent in my weaknesses.
Yeah.
Babes, I think we have fully unpacked every single ounce of mess, delusion, psychological trauma, and boss energy this situation had to offer. My heart rate is finally returning to a normal resting pace.
We covered massive ground today. We went from the thermal dynamics of sweating and the futility of lawn care to the dark timeline of grooming, the failure points of e-commerce, and the sheer audacity of the word mop. It's been an incredible journey.
It really has.
If you're listening, think about where the guardrails are in your own life and make sure you're the one driving the car.
That is such a good point to end on. Thank you so much to the Snark Squad for hanging out with us, drinking your iced coffees, and unpacking all this absolute chaos. We appreciate you more than you know.
We really do. Please remember to share this conversation with a friend who loves a good reality TV breakdown, and take a second to rate and review the show wherever you are listening right now. It helps us keep the snark flowing.
Yes, please do. Babes, we started this entire conversation by absolutely dragging summer chores, complaining about sweating through our clothes, and avoiding manual labor at all costs.
And look where we ended up.
We ended up living our best, cheese-filled, boss energy lives, judging the business logistics of reality stars from the safety and comfort of our air-conditioned apartments.
Balance. That is the true ultimate definition of a summer glow.
It really is. I love us. Stay glowing, stay shady.
Wow.
And we will see you on the snark side.